Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Pakistan is observing a national day of mourning today with the national flag flying at the half-mast. The entire Pakistani nation is in grief and in utter shock. On Wednesday the last, a migrant boat reportedly carrying over 700 people sank off the coast of Greece. Now, this boat was reportedly carrying an estimated 400 Pakistanis, 200 Egyptians, and 150 Syrians. Now, hundreds of them are feared to have drowned and died. Now, also, authorities have rescued 104 survivors, while 78 bodies have been retrieved. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif earlier expressed a deep grief on this boat tragedy and formed an inquiry committee to probe the matter. Now, the terms of reference of this four-member committee include ascertaining the facts of the boat tragedy in Greece, identifying loopholes and lapses in legal and enforcement mechanism, and also analyzing the similar incidents in the past. It will also prepare short and long-term recommendations in order to apprehend the agents, the masterminds and the facilitators and the rackets to eradicate the menace of human trafficking from the country. As the Prime Minister had earlier also directed all the law enforcement agencies and the concerned departments to track down the agents involved in this particular boat tragedy and human trafficking and to bring them to justice. The FIA has claimed to have apprehended 3 people, including a key suspect. Likewise, the police in Azad Kashmir has also claimed to have arrested 12 people linked to this particular heinous crime. Now, harrowing details have been surfacing after this boat capsized. This sunken boat started its journey from Libya for Greece through the Mediterranean. Now, the distance is over 1,400 kilometers. Now, as per the UN Refugee Agency, since 2014, 50,000 deaths and disappearances have been registered in the central Mediterranean, making it the most dangerous migrant crossing in the world. We'll be taking up the issue of human trafficking, the kind of perilous journey the people had to undertake through the Mediterranean, and such type of voyages end up in such type of death and tragedy. We'll be joined by an esteemed panel of guests today in the show to talk about this very pressing issue. We'll be starting the show. We are being joined on the phone line by Ms. Mumtaz Zahra Baloch. She is spokesperson, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ms. Mumtaz Zahra Baloch, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Quite a tragic incident. And what details do you have so far regarding the numbers of the people, especially when we talk about number of Pakistanis which were on the boat in this particular tragedy? How many people have survived and how many have been rescued so far? Any pertinent number regarding the number of casualties that we have received so far?
Yes, thank you so much. The facts that we have ascertained from Greece through our embassy in Athens are as follows. There are 12 Pakistanis who have survived this tragic accident, and of this, 2 of them were hospitalized earlier, and they have also been now released from hospital, and they have recovered fully. As far as the number of missing and deaths are concerned, this is a number that we are unable to confirm at this stage. There are varying numbers that have been conveyed to us through private sources, but no official confirmation has been received of these numbers.
Right. Ms. Baloch, when we talk about Pakistan's Foreign Office engaging with the authorities, specifically talking about Libya and Greece on this particular matter and the matter of human trafficking, how is the Foreign Office engaging with them?
as far as the issues of human trafficking and law enforcement are concerned, this is the domain of the Ministry of Interior and FIA, and they are already engaged with their counterparts, including through Interpol, to ascertain the details of these syndicates and the circumstances of this tragedy. We have representatives of FIA currently in Greece who are working with our embassy and with the Greek authorities to ascertain more details.
Right. So specifically talking about the survivors, the Foreign Office, how is Foreign Office keeping in touch with them specifically?
The survivors?
Yes, please.
Yes, the 12 survivors are currently in a camp in Greece, and 10 of them who were physically fit, they were earlier contacted by our embassy. The embassy officials have met them. The 2 who have been released just yesterday, our embassy will be meeting them very shortly. And they are in contact with them. They have interviewed them. As I said, they are in good physical condition.
Right. There are certain reports in the media, Ms. Baloch. There are certain agents which are trying to mislead the families of the victims. So is there any mechanism the Foreign Office has established to keep those families updated regarding the whereabouts of their loved ones?
Yes, as soon as this tragedy struck, that was Wednesday last week, our mission in Athens, they opened a helpline that is a 24/7 helpline, and the numbers were circulated to everyone through the media, and Pakistanis have been contacting these numbers, sharing details of passports and photographs, so that the mission has the data to verify the details of those Pakistanis who are missing and those who are currently in feared dead.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us, Ms. Mumtaz, Zahra Baloch, Spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We really appreciate that. We are also honored to have been joined in the studio by Mr. Ammar Jaffri, his former Additional Director General of Federal Investigation Agency. Mr. Jaffri, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. At the same time on Skype, we are being joined by Mr. Parvez Jamil. He is senior journalist. Mr. Mir, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Let me begin the discussion with you, Mr. Jaffri. Quite a tragic incident. A number of Pakistanis were on that very boat that capsized off the coast of Greece. Now, this particular menace of human trafficking, you've been associated with Federal Investigation Agency. How does this particular agency deals with this particular menace? Any sort of a mechanism that has already been developed?
Yeah. Actually, FIA is basically a law enforcement. Naturally, they take cognizance of the crimes which are taken care of. There are human trafficking laws. Actually, firstly, we'll have to differentiate between human smuggling and human trafficking. Human smuggling is something which is in connivance with the person who is being smuggled. He actually knows it, that this is something happening. Whereas human trafficking is something where the victim doesn't know what's happening. So this is very important that we should segregate these two things separately. It's very important, right? Because human smuggling laws are totally different and human trafficking laws are totally different, right? Second is the figures. I think the United Nations has given a figure of 27 million people being smuggled from one country to another country, whereas the state figures are fairly alarming. It's less than 1%, right? So there's a big gap in the recognition of the figures. If we cannot measure anything, we cannot do anything. So I think firstly we should take account of the figures being published by FIA, that how many people are being smuggled out of Pakistan and how many people are being human trafficking in Pakistan. I think actually I believe that human trafficking or smuggling is a traditional for centuries, because that started with migration. Migration was something very legal, but now actually we are entering into new era of human trafficking and smuggling. One is organ harvesting, second is sex workers, third is these students who are being smuggled. I am sure about it that most of them will be the students also. So the new pattern, you know the kids who were smuggled few years before for the camel jockeys, right? Why they were smuggled? That was in connivance with the entire family. The mother knew it, the father knew it, the uncles knew it, but that was just to the sacrifice of one child for the benefit of the whole society. I think it's a social issue now. We must take into account the pressure on the people. No family wants his or her son to be gone like this.
Regarding this particular case, when you talk about this, do you bring it under the ambit of human trafficking or smuggling? How do you differentiate?
I think this is trafficking, totally trafficking. I think FI
it was without the consent of the people
without
who became victims.
Exactly. Actually, there are 4 departments government. One is Bureau of Immigration and Overseas Employment, which stamps, it is called something like that, we assure that this agent taking him out is a legal person. This is very important. I think there should be complete inquiry, because FIA is something which takes cognizance of the laws only, right? But there is an organization which is responsible for making sure that this Mr. ABC taking this type of people outside is allowed or not. Yes, at the airport the responsibility of the FIA. Second, I would like to say that Interpol should be involved into it, because the satellite communication is so strong now that even they know a suspected vehicle going in the sea. I would like to request through your program to the international organizations, it's the issue of humanitarian issues. People are dying and they are not helping them. I think the West should be. We should take a very strong voice, and we should make a strong protest on the coastal organizations in that era.
That's definitely a very important matter to be discussed. So, for just the sake of clarity, when we talk about this particular case, there are 2 phases of it which are involved in it. The first is the legal journey from Pakistan to the United Arab Emirates and then to Libya, and then they are taken through the boat, which is a fishing trawler. So there is no immigration procedure involved on the coast of Libya. So it is a combination of 2 things. The one, the legal thing, the other is completely illegal. So how the law is going to take this situation?
Okay, right. Interpol the responsibility, and the regional office is Singapore office. I think FI should immediately talk to the Singapore office that what has actually happened. People must have gone through a legal procedure from here to Dubai and to Libya. Definitely that's not a big deal now. But from Libya, they went on an illegal channel. That was not a legal channel. You know about it. I think now there are news about it that that was a faulty boat, and the Pakistani were in the I think the downest deck of the boat, right? I think there was humiliation of human beings also. So it's a legal matter now. What I'm trying to say is that we should, through Foreign Office, I think the Foreign Office take a strong note of it. It's a National Mourning Day in Pakistan. We should raise our voice. It's not a matter of 300, 400 people. It's a matter of the Pakistani population, the innocent people. I think all countries who were involved in it, they should join hands together, and they should make a strong appeal in the United Nations that this should be condemned. And finally, I would like to say that this is a social issue now. Now families exactly know that their boy is going to something which he may come back and may not come back.
So that will necessarily make it a matter of human smuggling rather than traffic.
No. This is a different issue. Human smuggling is something.
When they are knowing where their children are heading.
Exactly. Some part they know, some part they don't know. Actually, they were told that they are going to some good opportunity and they'll get a job. New trend is the marriages now. The girls are being smuggled for the marriages.
Right. Let me bring in Mr. Parvez Jamil Mir into the discussion. Mr. Mir, quite a tragic incident. Every Pakistani is grieved and is in utter shock. Now, the responsibility of the families before sending their loved ones abroad like that, and ultimately they meet a tragedy. What happens to be the responsibility of our society overall regarding the verification of the agents through which their loved ones are being sent abroad?
Jawad, first of all, we must accept that the subject we're discussing, it is all illegal as far as the law is concerned. Whether it is human smuggling, whether it is trafficking, it is an offence, at least here in Pakistan and anywhere else as well. Now, coming on to the second part, yes, we are sorry, we are very sad that there is loss of human lives, but at the end of the day, we've got to get to the cancer of it. That, these people are duped, they are promised, that there are wonders across the sea and they'll be earning money and they'll be given all sorts of, incentives. And with the result that this business is a multi-million-dollar business. I mean, 3 million, Pakistani rupees, if a family is giving, just imagine how many millions it runs into. And this trafficking, let me tell you, it is not alone in Pakistan, it is all over the world, particularly in Europe, particularly after the EU. There were a lot of Romanians, a lot of Polish, and a lot of Lithuanians. You can find them even now on the border at Calais, trying to get into the UK and Dover. So this is an ongoing thing. But what we need to do is, particularly the FIA, we need to have it upgraded. We need to bring it up to the times so that their investigative team is fully equipped and has the right resources to track, investigate, and find these little pockets of people who do the wrong thing. Now that is where we need to be, putting all our resources. Whatever has happened, it has to happen. How many people we've seen? So many people who die off the coast of Italy, Greece, and Spain even. So what we need to do is we need to be looking into it on a long-term basis. That who are these? I call them con men, because I don't know if you've heard. Maybe a month ago, somebody sent somebody to Malaysia, and the poor guy was standing and stranded at the airport. And somebody approached me and said, "Please, help us." So how can you help when you don't even know? I said, where is the person who sent it? He says, "We don't know." So the thing is, I think there has to be an advice bureau. It should be advertised, particularly on Pakistan television, that people who do wish to go abroad, they must, consult the FIA, that what are the procedures, and that is how we need to be gradually, slowly, but effectively creating awareness amongst the people, because our people are very simple. I mean, people from the belt of Mandi Bhaudi, Kharia, Jhelum, and of course Azad Kashmir, Mirpur in particular, I mean, they get duped. They're simple people, and they're promised the world. And this is something I think that awareness has to be brought in, because if we don't, and unfortunately, Jawad, we are reactive. We are not proactive. We've got to be looking into these sort of problems, much beforehand. We know the problems. We have identified them, but we need to be, working in solving them, resolving them, rather than lament and say, "Oh, we're sorry." We are sorry, but we can avoid this state of being sorry. And I think we need to be doing a lot of homework on a lot of other subjects as well, in Pakistan in particular.
Right, Mr. Jaffri, Mr. Mir has highlighted very important issues. The first thing, here's very pertinent, that it's about tracking, investigating and apprehending the people who actually dupe the innocent people who are actually willing to go abroad. Now, what does FIA do in that particular regard? What mechanism it has already developed in order to actually identify who are the culprits and how they are operating in the country?
I think the committee which has been formulated, Mr. Head is Mr. Ehsan Sadiq. He has a wonderful experience of dealing these things. He is the Pakistan point of contact on these issues, I think. I think what FIA normally does is that a case is registered, naturally, and that is under the human trafficking laws. And then inquiry is initiated, and naturally the people are apprehended. And then the victims, the family of the victim, they give the evidence and then go further. I think there is a lacuna into it, because this is not a one-man show. The one-man show. Let me say, the agents are registered through an organization which is called Bureau of Immigration and Overseas Employment, right? Then they ensure when the person leaves, there's a stamp that yes, we are satisfied that this person is going on a legitimate job opportunities. You know, the foreign office is involved into it. I think the embassy issue the certificate that this employer in this country is the legal employer for giving employment to these people, right? So embassy should be held responsible under which law these people were coming, I think. Then I understand that in Athens there's a FIA rap. I understand that. FIA rap, they should be involved into it. Then it is a complete cycle that now, when these people went, they went on which visa, employment visa or a student visa. I think there must be a figures for that. Second is that whether they were traveling a fake document or they were traveling on a genuine document. That's the basic difference between smuggling and human trafficking. Then the inquiry should also take into account that what happened at that particular moment, right? A boat was going from one coast to another coast. There must be other boats also. So to my understanding, there has been a delay. So I think this reason should also be taken into account, and then Interpol. You know what's happening in Europe? They actually keep these boats away from their coast because then they apply for asylum.
So what do you understand, Mr. Jaffri, from your discussion is that this entire journey was legal?
No,
so
no.
there is some sort of laxity or there is some sort of delay on the part of the Europeans?
No. From here to the first airport was legal, to my understanding, right? Then the subsequent journey, even from Dubai or somewhere, maybe Sharjah, to Libya, that must be taken into account. You know, that deep dark web, they are operating in so many things. And as I told you before, there are not only one reason, employment, there are a number of reasons. We'll have to, actually this is a good opportunity, we should actually make a database.
Now, after the Prime Minister acted, FIA has claimed to have apprehended three people, including a key suspect now. So, do these exercises are being carried out regularly, or is it just because of the very stringent action or the stern
I'll agree with
direction?
It's a hype now, then again things will slow down. Let's make an example. Let's give them the punishment which they do deserve, these people, this is very important. Secondly, the inquiry should also recommend the future measures that these things should not be taken again. You know, there must be a complete framework.
So the crackdown.
Should
it be carried out around the year?
Exactly.
In order to identify those pockets where these agents, the facilitators are actually operating from. So what does the FIA do about it?
Actually, FIA is doing number of things. I am also part of some of the initiatives, creating awareness. Actually, we actually go into you know, every part of Pakistan is not involved in there are some pockets, right? And their tradition, everybody knows about it, that in which area these people operate. But now they have become so organized that they now take care of so many things. Okay, you know, the latest trend is the marriages.
If they have become so organized, it increases the challenge for the concerned law enforcement manifold. So new techniques or the strategies should be implemented in order to curb that also.
And in working with Interpol, this is very important. I personally feel there's a fault line in working within the country, within the organizations, as I am suggesting to Foreign Office, Bureau of Immigration. You know, there's a protected certificate. This is very important to share with you. What is a protected certificate? They stamp it that we protect the person. I think the people who issued the protected certificate, actually it's a responsibility that they should make sure that this person is going with this agent, through this agent, via this channel.
Right. Mr. Mir, regarding the formation of this particular four-member inquiry committee, it would be ascertaining the facts regarding this particular boat tragedy and also be identifying the lapses regarding the legal and the enforcement mechanism, and also will be taking into account the previous tragedies of this sort also. How do you see this particular step that has been taken by the government this time around, and what are your recommendations regarding the working of the concerned law enforcement agencies? As you already mentioned that we should be proactive rather than we should react to a certain incident. So what should be the ideal recommendations for the concerned law enforcement agencies to carry out that crackdown around the year so that they can't operate with that much of ease after which we saw this tragic incident, of course, happening?
Well, two things. First of all, you see, the FIA and the police in Pakistan or anywhere in the world such agencies are seen as tyrannical and people are scared. I think the first step, FIA and the police in Pakistan, they need to be, being more pro-friendly with the people. So the people have more confidence on our organizations and they can willingly go there and report whatever is there. People don't go and report because they themselves get scared that they might be implicated in the same case. So that is one of the reasons people don't report. Two, as far as the inquiry is concerned, I think going abroad for an inquiry is waste of public money. It's not worth it. I think all the inquiries need to be taking place here under the supervision of FIA or any other relevant, security authority, because this is our problem. This is not Greece's problem or anywhere else's problem. We need to be getting our own house in order. And I think a high-membered experts, not just people just from all walks of life, be inducted in the committee, experts, immigration experts, security experts, and at the same time, your social authorities, social, domestic authorities, they need to be good. Why are people are leaving abroad? Why are people are going through a wrong meaning? Okay, as what Mr. Jaffri said, yes, the first step is fine. So everybody's happy on that. But the second step, well, they start an illegal journey. So we can't help them. We can't help something which is illegal. Yes, we are very saddened for what has happened, for any loss of human life. But what can we do? Because it is an illegal process. And if we start going abroad and complaining to the other governments, this has happened and you haven't done this, your first answer will be, excuse me, these people are illegal people as far as their laws are concerned. So we've got to be rational, in our approach in this investigation. And the investigation has to be in Pakistan and a thorough investigation where I think all the provincial security agencies or, the heads of local FIAs, they should, join hands and present a report to the government for this illegal activity. Because this will continue, Jawad, this will continue. I mean, traffic offences, they happen every day, and the police works on it on an everyday basis. So human trafficking, drug, and this human smuggling, this will continue. But all we can do is curtail it. And by curtailing how? By imposing not fines, but serious fines and serious imprisonment. And that is the way we can move forward. Why is it that our traffic doesn't get right? Why? Simply because your fines are non-existent. I mean, 200, 500 rupees fines. I mean, a guy who's driving, nearly a 2 crore rupee car, do you think 500 rupees something for him? Of course not. So we need to be imposing heavy fines on every situation. And that is the way forward. And as I said, Jawad, that we are reactive. You've got serious problems coming in on the sewage system in this country. You've got problems coming in on the environment in this country. Are we going to deal with it when it comes to us, or we start working on it? And this is something, where we lack all around. Okay, this is one area, of course, now we've created a hype, and I totally agree with Mr. Jaffri. It's a hype. It'll go down in 10, 15 days. That's it, end of the story. We were expecting a huge, cyclone coming up. Big hype, well, it's gone, and forget it. So what we need to be doing is working way ahead. And that is where countries progress. Not because something happens and we react to it. No, we've got to be working constantly on it. That's how countries develop. And that is something I think, unfortunately, we don't do as much as we should do it or as we would like to do it. That is the way forward.
Right, Mr. Jaffri, as Mr. Mee has pointed to a very important point over here, the strict fines and strict imprisonment. When we specifically talk about the agents, the facilitators, and the masterminds and the rackets involved in this particular crime, how are they prosecuted? What does the PPC say about it?
This is a very pathetic situation, let me tell you very frankly. PPC is very clear on it, and as per FIA law 1975, FIA can take help from any other law also, right? So I think this will involve a lot of things, frauds, for example, human smuggling and human trafficking can take into account a number of laws. I think let me share something positive with you. There's a FIU officer, his name is Mr. Zahir. Only a week before, he was awarded the global award of working against. Actually, I have the honor of working with Zahir also. So that's the positive side. In USA, a very senior person have given the award for that. So I think we should involve media, NGOs, civil society, and it should be taken as a campaign. It's a matter of national reputation also. This is not something like some crime has taken place, right? That there's a part of it, and I think very strong punishment should be given to it, and the social aspect of it. This is very important. People are now demoralized. There are a lot of jobless people. They have a hope. You know, now there's a clear understanding. Send one person abroad. Plus, there's a rat competition going on. If we look back 50 years before, this was not competition like this. I think we must cool down people that, okay, slow down. It's the organic process of going ahead in the society. These fancy houses and all these cars, they are very fascinating. I think there's a element of social side into also.
So let's specifically talk about the laws, about those people who are already the agents, the facilitators in this illegal acts, or those perhaps might want to become one of those. So there are certain laws regarding the PPC. Mr. Mughal, the SSP of Kotli, Mr. Mohammad Riaz Mughal has mentioned certain things under which these agents and the facilitators would be apprehended. The sections 418, the section 419, 420 and 322. Would you like to shed a little bit of light regarding these?
Okay, there's a blur into it. You know, the FIA Act is now enforced in Pakistan, right? This is very important to convey to you. Yes, the cases in AJK is also registered in Islamabad also, and there are some, I don't know about the current position of their offices, of FIA offices in AJK, but there's a blur into it. So we'll have to, I know about cybercrime cases very well, so I know that the people in the AJK have to come to Islamabad to register their cases. So this inquiry should address all these issues, What has happened is a tragedy now. But as Mr. Mir is saying, we should be very, very proactive in the next incident to come. You know, these cyclic trends goes further because of the lot of reasons we can define. But very important is that this inquiry committee, I know them personally, all those people, very competent people, they should come forward, and the recommendation should spell out, this is do and this is do not. And do not should be very clear, because in do nots, I think there should be strong punishments against the organizations, the people who issue licenses, and I would also in the end stress about the role of foreign affairs. I think the foreign affairs should come forward and ask the European community people that when these people were dying, they were crying for help. You know about that. There are 4-5 hours of delay. Otherwise, most of them would have been saved. Right? They people talk about these sea animals and they save them, and they were not human beings, because I know their mentality.
That's another matter. I'll take your view on this particular very important matter that you've just mentioned. What about the law enforcement in Pakistan? Particularly FIA becoming more friendly, as Mr. Mir has mentioned, that this is a problem. How to reduce that trust deficit between the public and the officials of the law enforcement, so that they could become friendly and there is more trust among the general public, so they feel easy going towards any law enforcement agency to verify the authenticity of the people or the agents they are dealing with.
You're absolutely right. There's a big gap. It is a trust deficit. I personally think that FI should come forward in the public. They should publicly, like public hearing, what has happened. I think the FI officers should go in these areas, and they should be accountable. The media should be there. I still remember in my days, I took my DG with me and said, let's face the public. You know, the media should be there so that nobody can say anything wrong. I think the FI should be there. The civil society should be there, and I think there should be public hearing, and the live program should be there. Actually, Jawad, we have to start from somewhere. I think now we have hit the bottom now. Now we are becoming an unjust society, and we have to transform into some stable society.
Right, Mr. Mir, as Mr. Jaffri has mentioned that there was a reported delay by the Greek authorities over there as soon as they saw this particular boat reaching its course. There are a number of reports. The immigration policies have come under criticism regarding the European countries, various European countries. Now, there are certain analysts who say that the coast guards or the authorities in the countries of arrival weaponize time, they strategize deliberately in order to not rescue the people over there. No matter whatever the reasons for which the people have arrived at a certain coast, there is something that international law also says about it. If somebody has arrived because of whatever the reason, whether it was hunger, unemployment, war, or whatever, they must not be dealt with like that, the way they were dealt in this particular tragedy, or a number of similar tragedies that have already taken place regarding this central Mediterranean. What's your understanding of that? What happens to the responsibility of the authorities in the European countries?
Well, Greece, unfortunately, has been one of those countries whose track record for the immigration is not very bright. And we've seen how they refused refugees, coming in from Libya and Syria, and they didn't want to accommodate them, and they, literally threw them out. So we know how they operate. They operate very slowly, very, very, as though there's no urgency to it. And this is one of the reasons Greece is criticized, for its policies. And at the end of the day, look, we can criticize Greece, we can criticize everybody else, but what we need to do is that we need to get our own house in order. I mean, we can't dictate whether it's Greece or anywhere else that you haven't done this and you haven't done that, because, as I said repeatedly, that we are very sorry, but even if they had survived this voyage, they would have been, sooner or later been arrested and put behind bars, because it's an illegal trip. They didn't have the visas. They didn't have the required immigration papers. So they would have gone maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe even 5 years. We don't know. But at the end of the day, it was an illegal sort of a situation. All we can do is offer, condolences.
I seek your pardon for the interjection. So they won't be considered as refugees arriving on any coast?
Well, not really. No, I don't think so. Because, what we need to do is now, being, let's say, a little bit more pragmatic, is catch these people who have sent them, get their money back, and get them to compensate all the families, who have lost their loved ones. Because this is the way forward now, immediately. Because you cannot replace a human life, but you've got to compensate them, no matter who it is, how it is, confiscate their properties, confiscate all their assets, and put them onto good use for those families who've lost their loved ones. I mean, that is, as you mentioned earlier on, this is one of the recommendations I would give to the committee, that, this is the way forward, because we need to stop, curtail it. Okay, we won't completely stop it, because there are a lot of lacunas all around, but that is the way forward. Now, to force somebody else to say that they were refugees, well, how can we say that? In what face can we say that? I mean, the government of Pakistan didn't send them out. They went on their own accord. And, well, you go on your own accord and you suffer the consequences. Sad as it is, but that's the way life is. That's the way the law is. And we cannot fight the law. That's how it is. So I think what we need to do is, rather than, have an extended investigations all over. I mean, like I said earlier on, there are lots of people, even now as I speak, who they wait for these big, the trucks, and they wait for them, to be unattended, and they smuggle themselves into Dover. They get caught, and then they're brought out.
Your point
you can see daily
taken,
programs
Mr.
of these.
We're short of time, unfortunately. I really seek your pardon for the interruption. I have to end the show over here. Mr. Parvez Jamil Mir, senior journalist, joining us on Skype. Thank you very much for being with us on Views on News tonight. And in the studio, we were joined by Mr. Ammar Jaffri, former Additional Director General of Federal Investigation Agency. Since we have established this particular act is illegal and the human trafficking or the smuggling, in whatever ambit do you consider this particular boat tragedy of the coast of Greece happening, in which hundreds of people have lost their lives, including dozens of Pakistanis? It happens to be the responsibility of the authorities, the law enforcement agencies, also to have that very crackdown round the year against the people who are involved in this heinous crime of human smuggling and trafficking. And also, it happens to be the responsibility of our citizens also at the same time to duly verify any person who is working as a facilitator, agent for sending the loved ones abroad, because it's a responsibility of the entire system. So we have to be responsible in that regard. Also, with that note, we come to the end of today's episode. Thank you very much for being with us.